The universe, as it turns out, has a sense of humor. A dark, twisted, black hole-level sense of humor that makes you want to punch it in its smug, metaphorical face. Oh, and the gods? Yeah, they're real, and they're jerks. My name is Zorn Taavik, Supreme Commander of what's left of the once mighty Galactic Confederation fleet. Sounds impressive, doesn't it? Until you realize what's left means the battle-damaged cruisers, 27 fighters with half their weapons offline, and one luxury passenger liner we've converted into a hospital ship with duct tape and desperation. Commander Taavik, my first officer Kallenix, burst into the command center. Her azure skin had gone pale, closer to periwinkle. Her cranial tendrils twitched in ways that only meant bad news. The Void Eaters have breached the Aurelian system's outer defense perimeter. Fantastic. Just bloody fantastic. I took a long swig of stimulant juice from my canister and tried not to scream. How long until they reach the evacuation point? 27 hours, she said grimly. I slammed my fist onto the halo table. We've got over 4 million refugees still waiting to be lifted off. Even if we pack them like freeze-dried ration cubes, we'd need at least 48 hours. Kala didn't respond. Her silence said everything. We didn't have 48 hours. I groaned. The universe really needs a scheduling department. Sir, she added hesitantly, the High Council is requesting your presence in emergency session. Of course they are, I muttered, because what this apocalyptic nightmare really needs is a roundtable discussion led by people who've spent 4 centuries debating interspecies handshake etiquette. The council chamber was chaos, 17 remaining species, all shouting in their native modes, clicks, whistles, harmonic vibrations, telepathic pulses, and poorly translated speech. It was like standing inside a blender filled with angry diplomats. Then Elder Pax Vantoy spoke. An old scion with dull, reflective scales. Vantoy didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. They teach that trick in High Elder School. Commander Taavik, he said, your tactical assessment. I cleared my throat and gave it to them straight. We're screwed. A stunned silence fell over the chamber, followed by a ripple of indignant murmurs. You want the sugar-coated version? I continued. Fine. The Void Eaters have consumed 42% of Confederation space. That's 600 billion sentient lives that we know of. They cannot be reasoned with. Our most powerful quantum disruptors barely slow them down. At their current pace, the entire galaxy will be consumed in 3 standard years. There must be something we haven't tried, chirped Elder Ricky, a molting avian diplomat who looked like a terrified dandelion. Well, I said dryly, we could try asking them nicely to stop eating the fabric of reality. No sarcasm, Commander, Elder Vantoy snapped. This is hardly the time. With all due respect, Your Eminence, when facing extinction, sarcasm is one of the few luxuries we still have. That's when Elder Moro Thean spoke. He was the oldest member of the Council, one of the Vorax, a species known for unbroken historical memory stretching back 50,000 years. There is one option we haven't considered, he said, his deep voice barely above a whisper. The chamber went deathly silent. You could hear the environmental systems cycling. No, Vantoy said instantly. That is forbidden by the ancient compact. What option? I asked. Elder Thean's 8 eyes blinked in slow, deliberate sequence, a gesture of grave significance among his kind. The humans. The word hit like a detonation. Gasps echoed across the chamber. One elder fainted. Elder Ricky's feathers exploded off his body in a panicked cloud. Are you insane? Vantoy hissed. We swore never to contact them. And yet, Thean said calmly, the compact did not foresee extinction. Again. After what happened. On Proxima Century, after what they did to the Harvester fleet, I know the histories better than anyone in this room. Elder Thean interrupted a rare breach of council etiquette. I was there, Vantory. I saw what they did, and I'm telling you we need them. Now I looked around at the terrified faces of the council. Would someone please explain what the hell you are all talking about, humans? I have never even heard of this species. Elder Thawne turned his ancient eyes toward me. You wouldn't have. Every mention of them was purged from our records. Their star system is quarantined, surrounded by automated warning beacons. By decree of the Confederation and by agreement with the humans themselves, we stay away from each other. Why, I asked? Because they terrify. The gods, Elder Thean replied simply. Now I should explain something about our culture. We didn't use the word gods lightly. The Confederation recognizes 11 transcendent species that evolved beyond physical form. Millions of years ago. They rarely interact with mortals like us, but their power is unquestioned. They can rearrange stars, create or destroy matter at will, and bend the fundamental forces of the universe. And apparently something about these humans scared them. The Void Eatators have already consumed 2 of the transcendent tones, Elder Thean continued. The rest have retreated beyond the galactic rim. They have abandoned us. But the humans didn't, I guessed. No, the humans fought, and they won. Though the cost was substantial, Elder Vanto slammed his ceremonial staff against the floor. This is blasphemy. The ancient compact clearly states, the compact doesn't matter anymore. Elder Thean roared with surprising force for his age. Nothing matters if we are all dead, Vantoy. The humans are our only hope. Even if we wanted to contact them, how would we? I asked if they are quarantined. I have the coordinates, Elder contacting. The quarantined species, Thean said, and the emergency communication protocols. The chamber erupted again, but I tuned it out, considering our options, which were essentially none die. Now or risk contacting these mysterious humans who apparently scared. The living daylights out of beings powerful enough to create solar systems. Do it, I said, cutting through the noise. Send the message. 3 hours later, I stood alone in my quarters, staring out at the stars, wondering if I just made the biggest mistake. In Confederation history, the message had been sent, a desperate plea for help broadcast directly into a system called Sol, whatever that meant. The door chimed. Enter. I called. Callus stepped in, holding a data tablet. Sir, we have received a response from the human system. My heart skipped several beats. That was fast. What did they say? Just one word, sir. She handed me the tablet. The message read, simply coordinates. I almost laughed. Not hello. Not. We received your message. Not even who is this just. Coordinates. Direct, practical. Slightly ominous. I like theme. Already. Send them the coordinates for the Aurelian system and our fleet position, I ordered. And Kala put the fleet on high alert. I have no idea what to expect. Yes, sir, she replied, pausing, at the door. Do you really think they can help us against the void? Eatators shrugged. According to the council, they scared immortal energy beings that can juggle stars. So either they are the salvation we desperately need, or they are so terrible that we will be begging the Void Eaters to eat us faster. She didn't laugh. I didn't blame her. The waiting was excruciating. 6 hours passed with no sign of the humans. The Void Eatators continued their relentless advance through the Aurelian system, consuming everything in their path. Planets, stars, that even the very fabric of space-time left twisted and mangled in their wake. Commander, the sensor officer called out, "We are detecting multiple spatial ruptures at the edge of the system." My heart sank. The Void. Eaters. No seer. The energy signature is different. I have never seen anything like this. The main view screen activated, showing a section of seemingly empty space. Then reality itself seemed to tear open, not the chaotic, destructive rifts created by the Void Eatators, but precise, controlled cuts in the fabric of space-time. And through these wounds in reality came ships, human ships. They were wrong. That's the only way I can describe it. Where Confederation vessels were sleek and elegant, these were brutish, angular, and covered in protruding weapons where our ships glowed with the soft blue light of hyperfield generators. These leaked ominous red energy from what appeared to be deliberately exposed power cores. They looked less like ships, and more like mobile fortress factories designed by someone with a particularly aggressive interpretation of aesthetics, Sir Calla whispered beside me. There are over 3,000 of them. I couldn't speak. The Confederation, at the height of its power, had fielded perhaps 2,000 capital ships spread across the entire galaxy. These humans had just casually deployed a larger fleet in response to a distress call. The communications array chimed. Incoming transmission from the human fleet, the comms officer announced, sounding as stunned as I felt. Put it through, I ordered, straightening my uniform. The view screen shifted to show, well, a human, I presumed. The being looked surprisingly similar to several Confederation species, though with less prominent features, no scales, feathers, or exoskeletal elements. It had pinkish tan skin, short dark fur on top of its head, and wore what appeared to be a military uniform adorned with incomprehensible symbols. This is humanity's shocking arrival, Admiral Yoshida of the Terran Defense Force. The human said, its voice oddly melodic. We received your distress call. Looks like you have got a bit of a pest problem. A bit of a pest problem. Trillions dead worlds consumed, reality itself being devoured, and the human called it a bit of a pest. Problem, Commander Zorn Taavik of the Galactic Confederation, I replied. Thank you for responding to our call, Admiral Yoshida. But I must warn you, these pests have destroyed everything we have thrown at them. The human's face did something strange. The corners of its mouth turned upward, revealing rows of blunt white teeth. I would later learn this expression was called a smile, though it looked decidedly predatory. Yeah, we figured as much, Commander. That's why we brought the biggins. The human gestured, vaguely. We have got evacuation ships ready for your civilians. Just point us to where they are gathered, and we will handle it, Admiral, I said hesitantly. I don't think you understand the nature of our enemy. The Void Eatators consume reality itself. They have destroyed entire star systems. Even the transcended ones, what you might call gods, flee before them. That strange smile widened on the human's face. Gods who, well, let me tell you. Something about gods, Commander Taavik. They bleed just like everyone. Else you just need to know where to cut. A cold sensation washed down my spine. I remembered Elder Theon's words. They terrify the gods, the human continued. Now let's get your people to safety. Then we will introduce these Void Eaters to humanity, I think. They will find us rather indigestible. And as the first wave of human ships moved toward the refugee gathering points with impossible speed, I couldn't help but wonder if we'd just replaced one horror with another. But at least these horrors were on our side for now. Yes, sir, Call said, studying a tactical display. The human vessels are deploying some kind of, I'm not sure what to call them. They look like soldiers, but she trailed off, squinting at the readouts. I moved to her station, looking over her shoulder. What I saw made no sense. Are those individuals in open space? Yes, sir. Thousands of them. They are wearing some kind of armored suits, but they are not using vessels. They are just floating out there, moving under their own power. The tactical display showed swarms of tiny humanoid figures emerging from the larger human ships, impelling themselves toward the advancing edge of the Void Eater's consumption front. They carried weapons that seemed absurdly large, even for their armored frames. This is suicide, I muttered. What do they think they are doing fighting gods? Kayla replied softly. The evacuation began with brutal efficiency. Human shuttles, each 3 times the size of our largest transports, descended to their refugee gathering points. Their loading procedures would have horrified our Confederation safety regulators. Thousands of civilians herded into cargo bays designed for freight secured not with proper crash webbing, but with hastily deployed foam that expanded to hold them in place. Yet for all its apparent recklessness, The human evacuation proceeded at 5 times our projected rate. They weren't gentle, but they were fast. As the last refugee transports lifted off, Admiral Yoshida contacted me again. "Your people are secured." "Commander," she reported, "now we combat against cosmic horrors are going hunting." "Admiral," I began, "I appreciate your confidence, but these entities have consumed worlds." "They have?" Yeah, she interrupted with a casual wave of her hand. "Big, scary cosmic horrors." Very impressive. "But here's the thing about cosmic horrors." Commander Taavik, at predatory smile, returned. "They have never met humans before." The view screen shifted to a tactical display as the Admiral continued speaking. "You might want to watch. It's going to be one hell of a show." And as the human fleet turned to face the advancing wall of nothingness that was the void, Etators, I couldn't help but feel we had indeed made a terrible mistake. But at least it would be an interesting way to end the universe. The void Etators approached like a tsunami of nothingness, a wall of absolute nullification that consumed everything it touched. Stars winked out, planets crumbled, space itself warped and twisted before dissolving into non-existence. And against this apocalyptic force, the humans sent individuals in armor. "This is madness," I whispered, watching the tactical display as thousands of suited human figures flew directly towards certain death. Callus stood beside me, her cranial tendrils completely still, a sign of total shock among her people. "Sir, the sensors are picking up energy readings from the human suits that exceed anything in our database. Each individual soldier appears to be generating power equivalent to a Confederation cruiser's main reactor." "That's impossible," I said, automatically. "Apparently not for humans," she replied. The calm crackled. Commander Taavik came Admiral Yoshida's voice. "You might want to dim your visual sensors for the next few minutes." Before I could respond, the void between the human troops and the cosmic horror lit up with such intensity that our view screens automatically polarized to maximum. Even so, the light was blinding. When my vision cleared, I saw something no sentient being in the Confederation had ever witnessed: the Void Eaters retreating. What did they do?" I stammered. "A shifted quantum detonation cascade," replied Admiral Yoshida, who had apparently been listening in. She sounded almost bored. "Basically, we punch holes in reality slightly faster than they can need it, creating a feedback loop of dimensional instability that they find rather uncomfortable." The casual way she described weapons that warped the fundamental nature of existence made my blood run cold. "Admiral," I began carefully, "such technology is concerning." "Oh, this is just the warm-up act," she replied, tactical team wasting their response parameters. "Now we are bringing in the heavy hitters." The heavy hitters arrived in the form of 7 enormous vessels that emerged from the largest human ship. They were shaped like elongated pyramids, with what appeared to be massive crystalline formations protruding from their hulls. As they moved toward the regrouping Void Etators, I noticed something odd. "They have no weapons," I said, studying the sensor readings. "No visible weapons," Kayla corrected. "But those crystal structures are generating some kind of field that, sir, I don't know how to describe this. They are creating localized bubbles where the laws of physics are being rewritten." Admiral Yoshida's voice came through again, this time with an edge of what I would later recognize as glee. "We call them reality anchors, custom designed for entities that manipulate dimensional boundaries. You see, Commander, you can't fight something that consumes reality by shooting at it. You have to change the battleground." As the 7 vessels arranged themselves in a precise formation, a new voice joined the channel. "Reality anchor deployment, complete physics locked down. In 3, 2, 1, execute." Between the 7 ships, space itself seemed to crystallize. The Void Eaters' retreat eaters caught in the affected zone suddenly slowed, their amorphous forms taking on more defined shapes as they were forced into a single-dimensional state. "What's happening?" I asked, unable to look away from the spectacle. "We are forcing them to play by our rules," Admiral Yoshida explained. "No more phase shifting, no more dimension hopping, no more reality manipulation, just good old-fashioned matter vs. matter. And when it comes to destroying matter, the smile was audible in her voice. Humans excel at that." The main human fleet surged forward, weapons blazing. These weren't the elegant hyperfield disruptors or quantum resonance beams of Confederation vessels. Human weapons were crude, overwhelming, and horrifyingly effective missiles that tore holes in space-time. Beam weapons that seemed to set vacuum itself on fire, and projectiles that moved so fast our sensors struggled to track them. Where once the Void Eaters had shrugged off our most powerful attacks, they now screamed. There's no other way to describe it. Though there was no sound in space, our sensor arrays detected vibrations across multiple dimensional planes that our systems automatically translated as audio. The result was a cacophony, so terrible that several of my bridge crew removed their communication devices in pain. "They are hurting them," Kala said in disbelief. "They are actually hurting gods." "I told you, they bleed," came Admiral Yoshida's voice. "Now we are going to find out what they are made of. Literally a new group of human vessels." Moved forward smaller, faster ships that darted around the now sluggish Void Eaters. They weren't attacking, but instead appeared to be taking samples, cutting away pieces of the cosmic entities with precision tools. "Admiral," I said, suddenly alarmed. "What exactly are your people doing, Science Commander?" "Very aggressive science." Within minutes, the human fleet had boxed in the Void Eaters completely. The entities that had consumed half of Confederation space, that had sent immortal energy, beings fleeing in terror, were now trapped like laboratory specimens. Extraction teams report successful sampling reported. A new human voice over the channel. Preliminary analysis indicates exploitable biological components. Permission to proceed with weaponization. Granted, Admiral Yoshida replied. "Fast-track it, I want deployment options in 1 hour." My jaw dropped. 1 hour Admiral Confederation research teams spend decades studying new life forms before even considering potential applications. The Admiral laughed a sharp, startling sound. "With respect, Commander, that might explain why you were losing this war. We operate on slightly more aggressive timelines. While the research vessels worked, the rest of the human fleet continued its assault on the trapped Void Eaters. For under normal circumstances, I would have felt pity for any beings suffering such an onslaught, but these entities had consumed trillions of lives without hesitation or remorse. So instead, I watched with grim satisfaction as humanity taught cosmic horrors the meaning of fear. Commander Kalis said, drawing my attention. To a new sensor, reading one of the VO Eaters is attempting some kind of the truth about the misunderstanding communication. I shared a look with her. In all our encounters with these entities, they had never responded to communication attempts. Admiral Yoshida. I relayed. Our sensors indicate one of the entities is generating communication patterns. Yeah, we are picking that up too, she replied. Probably trying to negotiate now that they are getting their incorporeal asses kicked. Typical bully behavior. All terror and domination until someone punches back. Shouldn't we at least hear what they are saying? He suggested. There was a pause before the Admiral responded. Fine, patching it through now. What came through wasn't language as any Confederation species would recognize it. Instead, it was a series of conceptual impressions powerful enough that everyone on the bridge flinched simultaneously. Cease mistake, not food, communication error. What does that mean? Kala whispered. The next transmission clarified. Though it brought no comfort, ology believed galaxy uninhabited. Signal misconstrued, as invitation will depart. I blinked in shock. They thought the galaxy was empty. How is that possible? The Confederation spans thousands of star systems, not to them. Admiral Yoshida said, her voice suddenly cold. Look at the scale difference. To entities that operate across multiple dimensions and consume entire star systems, your civilizations might appear as insignificant as bacteria. They probably didn't even notice they were killing sentient beings. Recognize humans. Previous encounter. Agreement of separation. Will honor departing previous encounter. I turned to the view screen, where Admiral Yoshida's face had gone expressionless. Admiral, you have encountered these entities before not. These specific ones, she replied carefully, but others of their kind. Yes, about 300 years ago, by our calendar, they wandered into our home system. We explained the concept of boundaries to them. Given what I'd just witnessed, of human military capabilities, I could only imagine what that explanation had entailed. So all of this, I said slowly, the trillions dead, the worlds consumed. It was a misunderstanding. They didn't even know we were here. The Admiral's face hardened. Does that matter? Negligent genocide is still genocide, Commander. But she sighed. If they are willing to leave peacefully now, we won't pursue. We are not monsters. The irony of that statement, coming from a species that had just forced godlike entities to scream in pain, was not lost on me. What about the damaged sections of space? I asked. The consumed worlds and star systems gone, she said bluntly. Some things even we can't fix, but we can help you rebuild elsewhere. The Void Eatators, true to their word, began to retreat. The human fleet maintained its formation weapons, still trained on the entities as they accelerated toward the edge of the Admiral Yoshida's revelation system. Commander Kellis said, studying the long-range sensors, they are really leaving, all of them. A cheer went up from the bridge crew. The first expression of joy I'd heard in months, but I couldn't join in. Something was nagging at me, Admiral Yoshida. I said, you mentioned you encountered these entities before, yet Elder Theon spoke of the ancient compact, a quarantine agreement between humans and the Confederation. Are these events connected? The Admiral was silent for a long moment. That's a complicated question. Commander One better discussed. In person, I think, once your people are settled. That non-answer told me more than any explanation could have. Days later, with the Void Eaters gone and the evacuation complete, I found myself aboard the Admiral's flagship 4 that promised conversation. The human vessel's interior was as utilitarian as its exterior all-function minimal aesthetics and an overwhelming sense of barely restrained power. Admiral Yoshida met me in what she called the officer's mess, apparently a communal eating space. She was smaller in person than she had appeared on the view screen, but no less intimidating. Drink she offered, holding up a container of clear liquid. Thank you. No, my species doesn't process alcohol well. She nodded and poured herself a glass. So the ancient compact. You want to know the real story if you are willing to share it, I replied carefully. The Admiral took a sip of her drink. 342 years ago, we encountered our first alien species. They called themselves the Harvesters. They had a simple philosophy: resources exist to be taken, and weaker species exist to be exploited or exterminated. I know of them from our historical records. I said they were a threat to early Confederation worlds until they mysteriously disappeared about 300 years ago. Yes, the Admiral's smile was cold. They made the mistake of attacking Earth. We eliminated them, all of them. The casual way she described the annihilation of an entire space-faring civilization sent a chill down my spine during that conflict. She continued, we developed technologies and weapons that concern the entities you call the transcended ones. They reached out to us afterward, along with representatives of your early confederation. They proposed the compact we would stay within our region of space, developing as we wished. And you would all stay away. Everyone agreed it was for the best because you terrify the gods, I quoted. She laughed. Is that what they told you? Flattering, I suppose. The truth is simpler. We terrify everyone because we refuse to accept limitations even. The limitation of being mortal. What do you mean? The transcendent ones achieved their state through millions of years of evolution. We were impatient. She finished her drink. Let's just say there's a reason our soldiers can generate as much power as your cruisers. We have been improving ourselves aggressively. I thought of the human troops in their powered armor facing down cosmic horrors without hesitation or fear. You have been modifying yourselves, enhancing, she corrected genetically. Cybernetically, the ancient compact explained dimensionally. The average human today is as different from our ancestors as they were from single-celled organisms. And the transcendent ones feared this, I guessed, your rapid evolution. They feared how we were achieving it, she said, and what we might become if left unchecked, hence the quarantine. Which, by the way, we agreed to mainly because we were busy with our own projects and didn't need the distraction of galactic politics. I sat back trying to process everything. So what happens now? The compact has been broken. Your fleet is in Confederation space. Now the Admiral spread her hands. Now we help you rebuild as a gesture of goodwill, and then we renegotiate the terms of our coexistence. The way she said, renegotiate made it clear this would not be a discussion between equals. The Council of High Elders will want assurances, I said, guarantees that humanity won't expand aggressively into Confederation space. Admiral Yoshida's laugh was genuine. This time, Commander Taavik, if we wanted your territory, we would have taken it centuries ago. Space isn't what we are interested in conquering. Then what are you interested in? Her eyes gleamed with an intensity that reminded me uncomfortably of the energy weapons her ships had, deployed against the void E-taters. The possibility, she said simply. The fundamental limits of existence and how to transcend them. Your Confederation explores the stars, we explore what it means to be. And the Void Eaters, I asked, will they return not? To this galaxy, she said with absolute certainty. We have made arrangements. I didn't ask what those arrangements entailed. Some things I was learning were better left unknown when it came to humans. As I prepared to leave, the Admiral placed a small device on the table between us, a gift, a quantum communicator tuned to our emergency frequencies just in case you ever need us again. I stared at the device. It represented both salvation and terrible power, the ability to call upon beings that terrified gods. Thank you, I said, taking it carefully, though I hope we never have Tausit, so do we, Commander. Her smile returned softer now, but no less unsettling. But the universe is full of horrors. It's good to have friends who are worse, as my shuttle returned. To what remained of the Confederation fleet, I gazed out at the human armada. Thousands of vessels bristling with weapons that could harm cosmic entities, improved by beings who'd refused the limitations of their own biology. Elder Theon had been right to be afraid, but he had also been right to call them. Sometimes when facing monsters, you need monsters of your own, and humanity, it seemed, had perfected the art of becoming just monstrous enough to protect what they valued without losing what made them worth saving God's help, anyone who threatened that balance, because the humans certainly wouldn't.